Did you notice that we already live in the future? Sure, it doesn't look as glamorous as artists like Robert T. McCall envisioned. We don't have flying cars or human-sized pneumatic tubes. But our world has pretty rapidly adapted to the conveniences and innovations of high technology. We now live on the cutting edge of an electronic era, accomplishing feats in communication, transportation, medicine, and engineering that would make the retrofuturists blush. But this future we're living in is no utopia. It's no secret that we're going through a veritable multi-crisis of social, political, economic, and environmental proportions. The future of this future is uncertain, and collapse is not off the table. In response, some of us want to take the future in a different direction. Enter solarpunk, a movement fueled by hope that seeks to shape a more resilient and sustainable future, bringing together nature, community, and technology in harmony under a vibrant sun, while challenging the capitalist, colonial, and statist structures that seek to limit our autonomy. The interpretation of solarpunk is quite open, leaving folks to take its message in several different directions. In an effort to accommodate the critiques of the potential consequences of more high-tech imaginings of what solarpunk could be, I've tended towards embracing low-tech wherever possible, but others lean elsewhere in their vision. There is no one true solarpunk, and that's for the best. But while I am an ardent advocate of the power of imagination, we still need to ground our imagination with a deeper understanding of the limits and potentials of the world we live in. Superficial high-tech aesthetics cannot supersede the realities of rare earth metal extraction. Technology is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. Wherever possible, I've tried to provide a critical counterbalance to the dominant paradigm of techno-optimism. The blind faith that technological progress can solve every problem known to humans. This isn't because I'm against technology, far from it, but because I believe we need to be more tech-critical. We need to develop a more intentional mindset and social orientation toward technologies in their broadest possible sense. Whether they're hand tools that adapt our metabolic energy for a specific task, like a hammer, power tools that are moved by energy converted outside the human body, like a car, or productive organizations that produce either tangible or intangible commodities, like a furniture factory or a hospital that provides healthcare. Being tech-critical simply means recognizing that the technologies which cannot meet the criteria of conviviality should not continue to dominate our world in the ways in which they do now. I'm not the first to sound the alarm on the risks of untempered technology. Luddites, environmentalists, and philosophers of all backgrounds have, at various times and places, confronted the ways in which certain technologies have devastated communities, ecosystems, or society at large. In Data Grab, sociologists Ulises Mejias and Couldry illustrated the historical link between technological development and colonialism. The scientific method and colonialism developed and evolved together, they wrote, as the need to acquire and transport resources more efficiently, to rule new territories across huge distances where those resources were located, and to process those resources into something that generated wealth, were all colonial problems that required greater scientific and technological advancements. During a lecture to the Liverpool Chamber of Commerce in December 1899, Sir Ronald Ross shared the results of his ongoing work on combating malaria, which killed many English colonists, by stating that in the coming century, the success of imperialism will depend largely upon success with the microscope. The scientific method that guided technological development was being used to quantify the natural world for the sake of predictability and ease of management. It was a process to be used to identify, understand, and eliminate anything that interfered with the colonial project and create a reality more conducive to colonial control. This doesn't mean that we should discard the scientific method altogether, but it does mean that we should recognize and be wary of the potential bent of science and technology as a means of controlling rather than empowering people and nature. Austrian philosopher Ivan Illich wrote extensively about the technocratic disaster that we face in Tools for Conviviality. This disaster results from our alienation from control over the tools that we use as they become mired in complexity and manipulated by elites. I reviewed Illich's concept of an overgrowth of tools in this video. French philosopher Jacques Ellul argued similarly in The Technological Society, though I haven't read it in full. He believed that we must change our perception so that we retain control over our technologies rather than allowing our technologies to control us and erode our capacity to imagine and create. American philosopher Mumford was highly critical of the development of technology in his lifetime, from its early exploration of technology's history in Technics and Civilization to the notorious 2 volumes on the myth of the machine. Such tomes are too much to make plain in mere minutes, but the general takeaway, as relevant to our discussion, is the critique of the constant, unrestricted expansion, production, and replacement that characterizes modern technology. Characteristics which Mumford recognized are antithetical to the sustainability, craftsmanship, and human satisfaction we should be striving for if we seek the development of a solarpunk society. Instead, we find ourselves plunging headfirst into the age of AI, the anatomy of which involves cross-continental exploitations of human labor, data, and planetary resources. I am not opposed to technology, nor should you be, but we cannot afford to lose the habit of questioning. With this legacy of tech criticism in mind, I want to share a practical toolkit for engaging critically with technology and stimulating our imagination of alternative pathways of development. We cannot forget that there are other ways of being outside of this capitalist status quo. So here are some reasonable, long overdue questions that should provide a way for us to redefine our approach to technological development, production, and use. I derived this list of questions from author Stephanie Mills, who originally derived these questions from Jacques Ellul. For each category of questions, I will suggest one technology that you can keep in mind, but the question should be asked about every technology. There may not be binary, straightforward, or objectively correct answers to all these questions, but they're still worth asking, as it can guide our efforts to find solutions. The first category of questions is ecological, and we can interrogate the not-so-humble smartphone. What are its effects on the health of the planet and of the person? Does it preserve or reduce biodiversity and ecosystem integrity? What are its effects on the land and on wildlife? How much and what kind of waste does it generate? Does it incorporate the principles of ecological design? Does it break the bond of renewal between humans and nature? And what is the totality of its effects, its ecology? Clearly, these questions were never asked during the development of the smartphone, and now it has become thoroughly embedded in the necessities of day-to-day existence with disastrous ecological consequences. The next category of questions is social. Let's cross-examine the television. Does it serve community? Does it empower community members? How does it affect our perception of our needs? Is it consistent with the creation of a communal, human economy? What are its effects on relationships? How does it affect our way of sensing and experiencing the world? Does it undermine conviviality? Does it foster a diversity of forms of knowledge and community, including the traditional? In the case of television, it seems it has eroded the oral tradition in many places. And to what extent does it redefine reality? Does it erase a sense of time and history? What is its potential to become addictive? Perhaps the television, whether cable, satellite, streaming, or casting video, doesn't need to ground us in community or build on the renewal of traditional forms of knowledge. But maybe it could, if we took the time to ask what we want out of this technology and who should be shaping its programming. Unless, of course, they like gerrymander and you're against it altogether. There are also moral considerations to technology. Let's ask the passenger train. What values does its use foster? What is gained and lost by its use? What are its effects beyond its utility for the individual? What are its effects on the least advantaged in the society? If made accessible and effectively planned, I believe passenger trains can empower all members of society to travel freely and conveniently. Furthermore, there are ethical considerations to technology, which we can ask the car. How complicated is it? What additional technologies does it require? What does it allow us to ignore? To what extent does it distance us from effect? Can we assume personal or communal responsibility for its effects? Can its effects be directly perceived? Cars have become a ubiquitous technology. The conversation surrounding its ethical implications is too often sidelined for the sake of yet another highway lane. We can ask vocational questions of the notoriously jack-of-all-trades lathe, used in factories and workshops across the world to produce everything from screws to crankshafts. What is its impact on craft? Does it reduce, deaden, or enhance human creativity? Is it the least imposing technology available for the task? Does it replace or does it aid human hands and human beings? Can it be responsive to organic circumstance? Does it depress or enhance the quality of goods? And does it depress or enhance the meaning of work? Considering the range of applications and variety of scales that lathes operate within, alongside its long-standing history in human craftsmanship, I believe that lathes score positively in this category. Aesthetic questions are another category of inquiry. What does the bicycle have to say for itself? Is it ugly? Does it cause ugliness? What noise does it make? What pace does it set? And how does it affect the quality of life? If you ask me, Besides the songs of birds and flitter of passers-by that stroll reclaimed streets, the ringing of bicycle bells that announce an approaching rainbow of cyclists will define the soundscape and sightscape of a solarpunk city. We should also be asking practical questions. For that, let's probe the stove. What is its purpose? What does it make and who does it benefit? Where was it produced and where is it used? And where must it go when it's broken or obsolete? It's unfortunately common for kitchen appliances to pile high at many a landfill. What about how expensive it is? Can it be repaired, and if so, by an ordinary person? Stoves have improved in design over the years to reduce indoor pollution and improve fuel efficiency, but at the cost of their accessibility to the layperson. Perhaps steps could be taken to incorporate greater ease of repair in the designs of contemporary stoves and distribute basic repair knowledge communally. The next category of questions is political in nature. Let's question the data center. Does it concentrate or equalize power? Does it require or institute a knowledge elite? Is it totalitarian? Think about the vast stores of data being gathered about entire populations every day, and the ways yet to be whistleblown about how that data is being used. Now let's continue. Does it require bureaucracy for its perpetuation? Legal empowerment? Military defense? Does it enhance or serve military purposes? And how does it affect warfare? Is it fostering a mass thinking or behavior? Perhaps not directly, but data is being used to manipulate populations. Does it empower transnational corporations? And what kind of capital does it require? Data centers are some of several technologies, and in this system, they represent a new domain of extraction that serves to concentrate political and economic power in the hands of the existing elite. Finally, we can turn to the metaphysical, though this category may have the most difficult questions to answer. Now it's your turn to think of technology. What aspect of the inner self does it reflect? Does it express love or rage? What aspect of our past does it reflect? And does it reflect cyclical or linear thinking? You can question any technology with any of these categories, and I suggest giving it a try in the comments. I've also linked the full list of questions in the description. In the past, I've spoken about the need for tools for conviviality, which I believe are necessary to actualize a solarpunk future. Conviviality refers to the ability of individuals to interact creatively and autonomously with others and their environment to satisfy their individual and collective needs. According to the criteria outlined by researchers Mario Pansera and Mariano Fasoli, convivial tools are relational, meaning they facilitate relationships between people; accessible, meaning it's possible for laypeople of various abilities to access, design, create, manage, modify, repair, and control their tools; adaptable to different scales, ownership models, and users' needs; bio-interactive, as in neutrally or even positively interacting with living organisms other than humans; and appropriate for their social-ecological contexts and environments. Convivial tools can empower individuals to interact creatively, horizontally, and autonomously with others to satisfy their individual and collective needs in a society organized around our mutual interdependence. However, a convivial society may not necessarily only use convivial tools. As Illich understood, what is fundamental to a convivial society is not the total absence of manipulative institutions and addictive goods and services, but the balance between those tools which create the specific demands they are specialized to satisfy, and those complementary, enabling tools which foster self-realization. In addition to the criteria of convivial tools developed out of Illich's work, we can also draw inspiration from Mumford's concept of biotechnology, which develops out of a society's restrained approach to technology for the sake of an ecologically responsible relationship with the biosphere. That may look like re-embracing traditional forms of food preservation to reduce dependence on electric refrigeration while opposing planned obsolescence for the applications you do use. Or it may look like carrying your groceries in hemp fabric tote bags and a cargo bike. According to Mumford, a biotechnic society would pursue a healthy and sustainable balance between resources and needs, instead of growth for its own sake. Embracing the biotechnology concept, on the scale of prefigurative efforts towards social revolution, might look just like establishing local and regional library economies. I suggest watching my video on the subject for a full breakdown, but the bare bones concept is that the library economy can support certain functions within a broader economy, following the key principles of usufruct, the irreducible minimum, and complementarity. Usufruct means people are free to access and use common resources to supply their needs. The irreducible minimum means that everyone is guaranteed a certain baseline quality of life, including access to food, water, shelter, clothing, education, and healthcare. Complementarity means looking at non-hierarchical differences between people in a society as something generative and constructive, rather than the basis of oppression and exploitation. Obviously, I don't have all the answers to solve the multi-crisis, but to get those answers, we'll have to start with questions and experiments. Hopefully, these ideas can seed practical conversations about how we can engage more critically and intentionally with technology. All power to all the people. Peace. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your fellow peoples. Thanks to the seedlings, the saplings, and especially the roots for making all of this possible. You can join these beautiful humans and support me too on patreon.com/sainttrue. Check out my other videos for a range of radical topics. Thanks again. Peace.